Most men over 60 think women are checking their hair, their belly, or whether they still look young enough. They're not. Women over 50 read a man differently instantly, instinctively, and with decades of experience behind their eyes. And the first thing they judge is never what men assume, because at your age, attraction isn't about youth anymore. It's about presence. It's about discipline. It's about whether your body still tells the story of a man who is alive or a man who has quietly started to give up. In this video, we're breaking down the 5 body parts women look at first when they meet a man over 60, the ones that reveal your self-respect, your vitality, and the truth you can't hide behind clothes, grooming, or confidence lines. These aren't muscles. These aren't cliches. These are the signals women trust the most because they expose the difference between a man who's aging and a man who's still becoming. Stay with me. The first one will change how you walk into every room from this day forward. When a woman over 50 looks at a man in his 60 seconds or 70 seconds, she's not looking through the eyes of a young girl anymore. She's not scanning for surface-level beauty, trendy muscles, or the perfect jawline of a 5-year-old. She's reading something far more sophisticated, something only age can teach. Women at that stage of life have lived long enough, loved deeply enough, and lost enough illusions to understand the truth. A man's body is a map of his mind, and whether he realizes it or not, he's communicating long before he speaks. This is the hidden language most men never learn. They assume women check for hair, abs, or wrinkles. But women over 50 pay attention to something entirely different: signs of life, signs of effort, signs of self-respect. They are not judging your youth, they're judging your engagement with life. They want to know if you are still present, still intentional, still awake, or if you've quietly surrendered to age without even noticing. Because by 60, every man faces 2 paths: decline by default or discipline by choice. And women can tell which path you're on within seconds. Decades of real-world observation have given them an instinct sharper than you think. They notice the small details men overlook: the way you stand when you wait in line, the way you move when you step out of a car, the way your hands look when you reach for a cup, the way your head sits on your shoulders, the way your eyes settle in a conversation, even the way your voice carries when you speak. You may think these things don't matter, but to women, they reveal everything. A man's youth can hide his bad habits, a sloppy posture, a chaotic lifestyle, lack of discipline, emotional inconsistency. At 25, those flaws are invisible. At 60, they announce themselves loudly. The body becomes a summary of choices, disciplines, and patterns accumulated over decades. That's why women don't simply look at you, they read you. Your energy tells them if you're still alive inside. Your movement tells them if you still care. Your expressions tell them whether life has made you wiser or weaker. Your presence tells them whether you've grown into yourself or drifted away from it. And the truth is harsh but liberating. At this age, you cannot fake anything anymore. A younger man can rely on appearance, genetics, or charisma. A man over 60 must rely on the substance he has built. Women in this age group aren't looking for perfection, they're looking for ownership. Does this man take responsibility for himself? Does he still invest in his body, his posture, his grooming, his health, his presence? Does he take up space with calm authority, or does he shrink out of habit? They know the difference because they've seen both. They've seen men who let themselves collapse with time, shoulders rounded, gaze tired, movements slow, hands neglected, energy faded. And they've seen men who move with surprising vitality, who stand upright even with age marks on their face, who carry themselves like someone who still cares about showing up fully. Women are not comparing you to younger men. They're comparing you to other men your age, and more importantly, to the version of yourself you've allowed or refused to become. This is why women pay attention to the small things men dismiss. Those small things are never small. They are signals, indicators, markers of who you are beneath the surface. A man's posture tells them whether he still participates in life. A man's hands tell them how he treats himself. A man's jawline and neck reveal whether he has discipline or excuses. A man's forearms show the difference between theoretical strength and real, practiced capability. And a man's eyes, his expression, his presence reveal whether he remains the author of his own life or merely a passenger drifting toward the end. It's not superficial. It's not shallow. It's instinct. Women have learned that a man's physical signals predict everything else: how he will show up emotionally, how he will take care of himself, how he will handle adversity, and how he will treat a partner. You don't need perfect features. You don't need to reverse aging. What you need is the one thing most men quietly lose over time: intentionality. There is nothing more attractive to a mature woman than a man who still takes ownership of his body and his presence, not out of vanity, but out of self-respect. This is the essence of masculine vitality after 60, not youth, but engagement, not perfection, but effort, not ego, but presence. If you understand this hidden language, everything about your attractiveness changes, not just how women see you, but how you move through the world. And it starts with the first body part women notice before anything else. Before a woman even sees your face, before she notices your clothes, before she hears your voice, she reads your posture. Most men think posture is just a physical detail, something you fix with a stretch, a shrug, or a conscious pull of the shoulders. But for women over 50, posture is one of the fastest and most accurate indicators of something far deeper. Is this man still engaged with life, or has he started to withdraw from it? Your posture is not just a position, it is a message. A forward head, rounded shoulders, slow steps, a body folding inward. These don't simply suggest aging, they suggest resignation. The feeling that life has taken more from you than you have left to give. And women pick up on that signal instantly. Often before you've even spoken a single word. They're not judging you against a younger man. They know what 60, 65, or 70 looks like. They understand the natural shift of muscle, bone, and energy. What they're evaluating is not your age, it's your aliveness. Because posture is one of the clearest signs that a man has surrendered or that he refuses to. Think about the men you've seen at your age. Two men can have the same weight, the same face lines, the same grey hair, yet appear completely different. One walks as if he carries invisible weight on his back. His head hangs forward, his spine collapses, and his presence shrinks into the background. The other man stands tall, chest open, chin level, moving with a quiet confidence that says, "I'm still here. I'm not done yet." Which one gets a second look? Which one looks like he still participates in life? Which one looks like the man women instinctively want to know more about? Women are not looking for perfection. They're looking for signs of vitality, subtle proofs that a man hasn't allowed time to drain him. A strong posture shows discipline, self-respect, and engagement. A collapsed posture shows the opposite, even if the man feels fine inside. Because the truth is simple, your body doesn't lie. A man who still challenges himself, who walks, lifts, moves, stretches, and keeps himself active naturally stands differently. A man who lets himself soften and slow down begins to fold inward. The posture reveals the lifestyle. Women over 50 understand this better than you think. They've seen husbands age, partners decline, fathers fade, and friends change. They know how quickly a man's posture can deteriorate if he stops caring. And they know it's rarely just physical. Your posture reflects your mindset. When a woman sees a man standing tall, shoulders gently back, head aligned with his spine, it communicates three things instantly. 1. He respects himself. He hasn't given up. He hasn't surrendered to time. He still chooses to move with intention. 2. He is dependable. Good posture signals physical awareness, emotional steadiness, and internal order. Women trust that. 3. He has presence. He takes up space without forcing it. He feels grounded, stable, centered. That combination is incredibly attractive and incredibly rare. And here's the part most men never realize. Improving your posture after 60 is not about being tall or looking young. It's about reclaiming control of the message your body sends before your mouth even opens. Standing tall is not arrogance. It is alignment, physically and internally. The best part, posture, is one of the easiest things to improve at any age. It requires awareness, not youth. It requires consistency, not intensity. Small daily habits, a longer stride, a lifted chest, a conscious pull of the shoulders. 2 minutes of spine alignment work can transform how women perceive you before you say a word. And the impact is immediate. Men who practice intentional posture report surprising changes. People move aside for them. Women make longer eye contact. Strangers respond differently. Their presence becomes magnetic, not because they look younger, but because they look alive. At this stage of life, you can't rely on raw physicality anymore, but you can rely on something far more powerful, your structure. Your posture is a declaration. It says, I am still engaged in life. I am still capable. I still take myself seriously. And that message, silent, simple, unmistakable, is one of the first things women notice. Before your hands, before your jawline, before your forearms, before your eyes. Your posture is the opening sentence of your story as a man over 60. And the next part women look at is the most honest body part you have. Of all the things women notice on a man over 60, your hands are the one detail almost every man ignores and almost every woman pays attention to. Not because they're searching for beauty, youth, or softness, but because your hands tell the truth. They reveal more about who you are, how you live, and how you treat yourself than nearly any other part of your body. A man can hide his stomach under a shirt. He can hide thinning hair under a hat. He can hide fatigue behind good clothes or a confident tone. But his hands expose everything. Women over 50 have incredibly trained eyes. They've watched the men in their lives age, work, succeed, decline, fall apart, rebuild, and sometimes give up entirely. Through all of that, they've learned something simple but powerful. A man's hands reflect his relationship with discipline, care, and engagement. Not the fancy kind of care, not manicured perfection or polished shine, but basic maintenance. Evidence that the man still pays attention to himself. Evidence that he is not drifting through life on autopilot. Because by 60, your hands have a lifetime written into them. The texture, the strength, the veins, the nails, the lines, they are not flaws. They are history. What matters is whether that history is honored or abandoned. Women notice if your nails are uneven, cracked, or ignored. They notice dry skin, rough cuticles, and discoloration. Not because these things are inherently unattractive, they're normal, but because neglect is not. Neglect sends a message: I stopped paying attention. I only care about what's visible in the mirror. I've chosen convenience over presence. And women never overlook that message. They're not looking for soft, delicate hands. In fact, working hands are extremely attractive. Hands that have built things. Hands that have lifted, created, held weight, lived life. Calluses from effort, real effort, communicate capability and masculinity. But there is a world of difference between hands shaped by work and hands neglected from apathy. A man can have hands that are rough, strong, and marked by life yet still cared for. Trimmed nails, tidy cuticles, skin that shows he hasn't given up on himself. Women find that combination incredibly attractive because it reflects balance, strength with intention, toughness with order, masculinity with self-respect. And here's the part men never expect. Overly polished hands can be just as unattractive as neglected ones. If your hands look prettier than hers, she senses something off. It signals insecurity, overcompensation, or even desperation. Women over 50 are extremely good at detecting when a man is trying too hard to impress. The ideal is simple, clean, trimmed, natural, maintained, not for show for yourself, Because hands are one of the few body parts every woman sees up close. When you hand her a menu, hold a glass, sign something, open a door, or simply rest your hands on the table, she notices, even subconsciously. She registers everything your hands communicate about you. Are you still attentive? Are you still capable? Are you still present in your life? Do you still respect yourself enough to maintain the small details? This matters more than men realize. A man who ignores his hands often ignores other areas of his life. A man who maintains them, even minimally, shows that his standards haven't faded with age. And, at 60, nothing is more attractive than a man whose standards are still alive. Basic upkeep takes less than a minute a week, yet most men skip it, thinking it doesn't matter. But women, especially women who have lived enough life to see through superficial things, know exactly what hands reveal. Your hands are your honesty. Your hands are your history. Your hands are your self-respect made visible. And after your posture and hands, the next thing women check isn't something you can hide behind clothing or grooming. It's written directly on your face, one of the clearest indicators of discipline, health, and personal standards. When a woman looks at a man over 60, the neck and jawline are not about handsome or youthful. They are not measured the way a young woman judges a man in his 20s or 30s. Women over 50 aren't comparing you to that version of yourself. They're comparing you to the man you could be right now. And the neck and jawline reveal more about that than almost any feature on your body. Most men assume this area is purely genetic. They see a softening jawline or a thicker neck and think, well, that's just aging. Nothing I can do. But that isn't how women see it. Women don't judge based on perfection. They judge based on effort, on discipline, on standards. Because after 60, the jawline and neck don't show youth. They show whether you've allowed time to erode your structure or whether you still fight for it. By this age, fat tends to settle beneath the chin. Skin loses elasticity. Muscles weaken. The neck starts to shorten. And the jawline begins to blend with it. This happens to every man, no matter his genetics. But the difference between the men women admire and the men they ignore is simple. Some men surrender to that change, and some men refuse to. A defined jawline at 60 doesn't mean sharp angles or model features. It means your face still has shape instead of collapse. It means you've kept enough strength, enough structure, enough awareness to show that you still take yourself seriously. Women notice that instantly, sometimes from across the room. A weakened jawline often comes from habits men don't realize they've developed: carrying too much body fat, letting the head lean forward, weak neck stabilizers, lack of muscle engagement, years of slouching. These create the vanishing neck look that makes men appear older, tired, or disengaged. But here's what most men never learn. You can restore definition at any age. Not by chasing youth, but by reclaiming your alignment and dropping the unnecessary weight that accumulates in the face and neck first. Lose just 5 pounds, and your jawline becomes clearer. Lose 10, and your face looks entirely different. Not younger, but sharper, stronger, more disciplined. Women notice that. They admire that. They respect that. Because a man who takes control of his neck and jawline, even slightly, is a man who hasn't given up. And that effort carries a powerful message. I'm still in this. I still care. I still choose myself. Women are not attracted to the perfection of your jawline. They're attracted to the ownership behind it. Strength training makes a massive difference here, not for aesthetics, but for structure. Exercises like rows, deadlifts, posture work, and even simple chin tucks strengthen the muscles that keep your neck long, aligned, and supported. And when you stand with your head centered over your spine, the jaw naturally lifts, and definition reappears. This isn't cosmetic. It's energetic. It's a physical expression of your internal discipline. One of the strongest examples of this is Marcus, a 6-7-year-old man who changed nothing drastic. He didn't starve himself, didn't chase trends, didn't buy expensive creams. He simply lost 12 pounds in 4 months, trained his posture daily, and did basic neck-strengthening work. The result women noticed immediately, not because he became younger, but because he became present. At an art event, 3 different women approached him, not because of his looks, but because his face no longer told a story of decline. It told a story of a man who still chooses to fight for himself, a man who still lives with intention. Women respond to that kind of man far more than to any amount of youth, because the jawline and neck represent something deeper than appearance: self-control, self-respect, personal investment, internal order, masculine structure, and, unlike your height, your genes, or your past, this is something you can change. Not instantly, not dramatically, but steadily, and women admire steady effort more than men realize. This is why the neck and jawline matter so much to women over 50. They are one of the clearest indicators of whether a man has continued to grow or has quietly stopped trying. A fading jawline says, "I let time happen to me." A defined one, even modestly defined, says, "I still shape myself." And, after posture and hands, the next thing women look for is not about aesthetics either. It's about something primal, instinctive, and deeply masculine. A body part almost every man ignores, but women notice immediately. Of all the body parts women notice on men over 60, almost none surprise men as much as this one: the forearms, not the chest, not the shoulders, not the biceps men spend years obsessing over in the mirror. Women over 50 consistently point to the forearms as one of the most attractive, revealing, and quietly powerful parts of a man's body. Why? Because your forearms reveal something deeper than aesthetics. They expose capability. Women don't look at your forearms to admire beauty. They're not searching for the perfect shape, symmetry, or bodybuilder veins. They're looking for signs of a man who still has usefulness, competence, and real-world strength, the kind that comes not from posing, but from living. A man's forearms tell a story that mirrors his life. They show whether he's still active, still working, still alive in his body, still able to handle the physical demands of life without hesitation. Because here's a truth most men forget: you can fake many things, But you cannot fake functional strength. Women see the forearms more than any other exposed body part. Short sleeves reveal them. Rolled up cuffs reveal them. Reaching for something reveals them. Opening a door. Paying for coffee. Carrying a bag, these everyday movements expose your forearms constantly. And women notice instantly. What they're really evaluating isn't muscle size, it's capability signals. Does this man look like he can lift something heavy without struggling? Does he look like he can fix something if needed? Does he seem physically able, grounded, real? Does he still carry the kind of strength that life respects? Forearms are a primal cue. They show practical masculinity, not decorative masculinity. And this is where most men get it wrong. Men spend hours on biceps curls, shoulder presses, bench presses, the mirror muscles. Meanwhile, the muscles that women actually see and interpret in real life are completely overlooked. Most men ignore their forearms, leaving them soft, thin, or untrained, which communicates something they never intended: disengagement. Forearms are a man's readiness indicator. Women over 50 have spent years observing men who age poorly, men who become fragile, hesitant, dependent. When they see forearms that are firm, defined, and vascular in a healthy way, they recognize a man who still lives with power, a man who still interacts with the world physically, a man who hasn't retreated into convenience or decline. It's instinctive, not logical, not intentional. It is biological pattern recognition. Forearms that show activity subconsciously tell women, this man is still capable. This man can still handle life. This man still has energy. This man still participates. And this matters even more with age, because by 60, muscle loss accelerates, especially in the upper arms, chest, and shoulders. But the forearms, they respond extremely well to consistent use. Even in your late 60 seconds, 70 seconds, and beyond. Grip strength is one of the last physical qualities men lose and one of the strongest predictors of longevity, vitality, and functional independence. Women don't always know this consciously, but they feel it, they sense it, they register it immediately. A man with strong forearms looks capable. A man with capable forearms looks trustworthy. A man who looks trustworthy becomes attractive. This is why a woman may glance at a man's forearms longer than his face. It's not superficial. It's instinctive attraction toward competence, the masculine ability to take action. Strong forearms communicate far more than muscle. They show a man who still lifts what life puts in front of him. They show a man who hasn't let age turn him soft. They show a man who is still dependable. They show a man who still moves with strength, not hesitation. But here's the best part. You don't need special workouts, fancy equipment, or hours in the gym to build attractive forearms. In fact, the most effective ways to develop them require almost zero exercise. Women find forearms attractive not because they're gym-built, but because they're life-built. Farmers carrying heavy grocery bags, yard work, lifting things instead of avoiding them, hanging from a pull-up bar. using your hands more and your phone less, engaging with your environment instead of shrinking into convenience. These real-world movements build forearms that look effortlessly powerful, the kind that attract attention without trying, without flexing, without needing validation. Women over 50 don't respond to posed masculinity. They respond to earned masculinity, earned through life, through action, through consistency, through the way you move, not the way you pose. And another detail women notice instantly: veins, not the extreme, bodybuilder kind, but natural, defined vascularity. This subtle visibility of veins signals strong circulation, a healthy heart, low inflammation, lower body fat, and high vitality. Women see it as a sign of life, energy, and capability. It's one of the quickest subconscious signals of a man who's still physically engaged with the world. And the beauty of all this, it's achievable at any age, even faster at 60+ than in your youth. Because your nervous system, grip muscles, and tendon strength respond extremely well to consistent use. Your forearms are a declaration: I still take action. I still show up. I still participate. Women don't want a man who looks like he's trying too hard. They want a man who looks like he still lives. Your forearms say that loudest. But as powerful as they are, there is one feature that matters even more, the one that reveals not just your discipline, but the entire story of your inner life. And women check it every single time. When a woman looks at a man over 60, the first thing she truly trusts isn't his body, his posture, his hands, or even his voice. It is his eyes, the expression behind them, the presence within them, the life or emptiness they reveal without saying a single word. Because by this age, no man can fake his eyes. Not with grooming, not with clothes, not with posture, not with confidence lines. Your eyes tell the truth you can't hide. Women over 50 have spent decades observing people, reading intentions, navigating relationships, experiencing heartbreak, betrayal, loyalty, devotion, growth, decline. They've learned to read people in seconds, and they rely on a skill men rarely develop. They read emotional presence through the eyes. Your eyes show whether you're still connected to yourself or disconnected, whether you're still alive inside or quietly fading, whether you still have curiosity or have grown numb, whether you carry self-respect or self-doubt. And nothing reveals these truths more clearly than your expression. A man can build muscle. A man can hide his stomach. A man can buy great clothes. A man can act confident. But the expression in his eyes will always show the reality he lives with. Women look for three things. 1. Presence. Is he here? Or is he somewhere else? You've met men whose eyes look unfocused, cloudy, distracted, or withdrawn. When they speak, their gaze drifts. When they listen, their attention fades. When they look at you, you feel like they're not really seeing anything. That signals emotional fatigue, a man who has gone passive in his own life. Now compare that to a man whose eyes are steady, aware, calm, and grounded. His gaze isn't intense, it's intentional. He looks with his presence, not past it. When he listens, he actually listens. When he speaks, he means what he says. Women find this incredibly attractive because presence is not youthful, it's powerful. It communicates maturity, calm authority, and emotional sharpness that younger men can't imitate. Presence says, I am awake in my own life, and nothing is more magnetic at your age. 2. Self-respect. Does he value himself? Or has he shrunk? Self-respect shows up in your expression long before it shows up in your actions. A man who respects himself carries eyes that are alive, lifted, and steady. A man who doubts himself carries eyes that sink, dim, or avoid connection. Women over 50 can spot this instantly because they've seen what happens to men who lose themselves over time, men who worked for decades, provided for everyone, but slowly stopped caring for their own identity. Their eyes look tired, apologetic, unsure. But a man who has reclaimed his self-worth even later in life has a completely different gaze. There is clarity in his eyes, not confusion, calm, not chaos, direction, not drifting. Self-respect gives the eyes weight, the kind of weight women trust. 3. Intention. Does he move through life with purpose? Or is he just drifting? When a man loses intention, his expression becomes blank. He smiles without depth. He looks without engagement. His face doesn't reflect energy, it reflects resignation. But when a man still has direction, whether it's his health, his hobbies, his curiosity, his relationships, his face changes. Even resting, his eyes have shape and focus. His expression shows someone who still has chapters left to write. Women over 50 aren't looking for a man who has everything figured out. They're looking for a man who is still in motion, still becoming, still invested in who he is. Intention is the masculine equivalent of beauty. You can't look away from it. Why the eyes matter more after 60 than at any other age. At 25, your body carries the attention. At 40, your lifestyle carries the attention. But after 60, your presence carries everything. Women are not drawn to the man who looks the youngest. They're drawn to the man who looks the most alive. Your eyes reveal whether you've chosen growth or decline, whether you've chosen awareness or surrender, whether you still participate in life or let life pass around you. And unlike your jawline, posture, or forearms, your eyes don't change through exercise or diet. They change when you change the way you think about yourself. If you move with intention, your eyes sharpen. If you take ownership of your presence, your expression deepens. If you respect yourself, your gaze lifts. If you stay curious about life, your eyes brighten. Women don't want perfection. They want aliveness. At this stage of life, your eyes are not just a body part, they're a message. I am still here. I still matter. I still choose myself. And women feel that instantly. But there is one final signal, a bonus factor most men completely overlook, that tells women whether your presence matches your energy. your structure, and your masculinity. And it doesn't come from your body, but from the way you sound. Long before a woman decides if she's attracted to you, and long after she forgets what you were wearing, she remembers your voice. The tone, the cadence, the steadiness, the presence behind each word, because at your age, your voice reveals something more important than charm. It reveals your inner authority. Your posture shows engagement. Your hands show care. Your jawline shows discipline. Your forearms show capability. Your eyes show self-respect. But your voice shows who you are. And here's the truth most men never realize. A strong voice doesn't come from youth, it comes from self-belief. After 60, many men unconsciously begin to speak differently. They get quieter, softer, faster, or more hesitant. Their sentences trail off. Their volume drops. Their tone weakens. Not because their body is failing, but because something inside them has slowly learned to shrink. Decades of putting others first. Decades of working without acknowledgement. Decades of suppressing opinions to keep peace. Decades of stress, responsibility, or emotional fatigue. These experiences don't just change your habits, they change your voice. A fading voice signals that a man has stepped back from himself. A steady, calm, grounded voice signals the opposite. Women over 50 notice this instantly, not because they're judging your masculinity, but because they're evaluating your presence. A man can be physically strong but sound apologetic. He can be handsome but speak without conviction. He can have great posture but communicate uncertainty through every word. Women feel this contrast sharply. But a man with a grounded voice, a voice that carries without aggression, without hesitation, without the need to dominate, radiates a rare form of confidence that attracts women far more than raw physical appearance ever could. Your voice does not need to be loud. It does not need to be deep. It needs to be steady. Steadiness equals strength. Clarity equals authority. Cadence equals control. Volume equals presence. Women listen for this because they can feel the difference between a man who believes his words matter and a man who has forgotten that they do. And here's the powerful part. Your voice can be rebuilt at any age. Because your voice isn't just a sound, it's your internal posture turned into vibration. When you stand tall, breathe correctly, speak with purpose, and allow yourself to take up space, your voice deepens naturally. It develops gravity. It develops clarity. It develops weight. Women trust that kind of voice, not because it sounds manly, but because it sounds certain. Certainty is masculine. Purpose is masculine. Calm authority is masculine. And it's attractive in a way youth can never replicate. Think of the men you respect: leaders, statesmen, teachers, coaches. Their power doesn't come from shouting. It comes from presence, and presence always begins in the voice. Women over 50 aren't listening for perfection or bravado. They're listening for grounding, a voice that says, I know who I am. I know what I mean. I am not rushing. I am not performing. I am here. Women can sense this instantly. And the moment they do, Everything about how they perceive you changes. A strong voice makes your posture seem stronger. Your eyes seem clearer. Your presence seems sharper. It's the final layer that ties every other masculine signal together, because your voice is the bridge between your inner world and your outer presence. And here's the part most men never realize. Improving your voice is one of the fastest ways to increase your attractiveness after 60. Slow your speech. Breathe deeper. Lower your shoulders. Let silence work for you. Speak only when you mean to. End sentences with certainty, not fading energy. This doesn't just make you more attractive, it makes you more respected. And respect, at this age, is worth more than anything. When a woman hears a man speak with calm authority, she doesn't hear age. She hears presence. She hears direction. She hears self-respect. She hears a man who still has something to offer, not just to her, but to life. Your body shows your discipline. Your eyes show your spirit. But your voice shows your identity. And when these 6 signals come together, posture, hands, jawline, forearms, your eyes, and your voice, they create something younger men cannot imitate: a mature, grounded, powerful masculine presence. Exactly the kind women notice instantly. At this stage of your life, you're not competing with younger men. You're not trying to look 20 years younger. You're not chasing perfection, validation, or approval. You're building something far more powerful, a presence that only a seasoned man can have. Because the truth is simple: youth fades. Time changes everything. But discipline is timeless. Your posture, your hands, your jawline, your forearms, your eyes, your voice, they are not beauty standards. They are signals, physical expressions of how you treat yourself. Proof of whether you still choose to live with intention. Proof of whether you've surrendered or stepped deeper into your power. Most men your age stop improving. They shrink. They soften. They let the world convince them that their best years are behind them, but not you. If you've watched this far, you already know you are not part of the 85% who give up. You're part of the few, the men who refuse to drift. The men who still sharpen themselves. The men who understand that becoming better isn't about age, it's about commitment. You've lived enough life to know what matters. You've learned from experience, from failure, from success, from loss. You carry wisdom younger men don't even understand yet. And if you apply that wisdom to your body, your presence, your discipline, you become a force. So, from this moment forward, carry yourself like a man who is not done yet. Stand taller. Move with intention. Speak with authority. Look people in the eyes. Take care of your structure. Take pride in the details. You are not past your prime. You are entering a different kind of prime, one built on clarity, depth, and self-respect. And if you're ready to continue this journey, if you're ready to stay sharp, stay strong, and stay in command of your life, then you're exactly where you need to be. This channel exists for men like you. I post new videos every week, lessons on male psychology, attraction, discipline, and the kind of presence that makes a man unforgettable at any age. So, if you haven't already, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and join the small percentage of men who refuse to fade, because age is just a number. But discipline is forever.